Hi, I'm going to share a quick story about how I use Miro to bring two companies closer together. My name is Carmen, and I work on the product team at a company called Premise Data. Just to give you some background about Premise, Premise has a mobile app that pays people money to fill out surveys or do data collection tasks like helping to map basic services and businesses by taking photos on your phone. And then this year, we recently acquired a company in Colombia to expand our product offerings. And they were in the middle of launching to a new customer in Mexico, and we had the goal of having that new customer use our premise technology. So we had to quickly learn everything about each other and incorporate their methodology with our tech in just a few weeks. Yeah, that's fast. So where does Miro fit in? Well, we needed something to help contain the chaos. There was a lot of institutional knowledge and very little time. And since our teams are so distributed, it was really hard to get everyone together. And there's the addition of language barriers that added to the challenge. On the team, there are all different roles. There are engineers, there were operations people, there was data scientists, designers, product people, just all looking at the same thing, but in different ways. So if I had asked someone, what does a task look like? Depending on who you asked, you would get a variety of any of these options. And this led to more confusion. So what we learned was that they're all really just asking the same question, but really from different perspectives. It turns out when people ask, what does it look like? Sometimes it means they're just asking, how does it work? And when they do ask, how does it work? Sometimes it also means they just actually want to know, where does it come from? So you can see how it gets a little confusing. With Miro, we really maximize on the ability to zoom in and out and have seemingly unlimited open space to work in. And that was important for us because there was a lot of information, a lot of knowledge across these two different pillars, and we needed the space. It was kind of like this Powers of 10 film where it starts with a hand or maybe an ant on a hand on a picnic. And zooming all the way out, you kind of get to see the entire world. In this case, it's like seeing the point in which a person pushes a button on an app and then you step back from the UX and realize it's part of a larger data set that's being collected and processed using a specific architecture and methodology. What we really wanted from Miro was to be able to go broad and then deep, map these large overall processes using sort of big blocks, and then zoom in and have subsequent processes within it, all while staying within context. It means that everyone can just sort of come to the same place, come to the same Miro board, and not juggle different docs and lose context and lose sight of that big picture. And because of that, these maps have sort of these layered perspectives. And by layered perspectives, I mean that we were able to start with something abstract and work towards something concrete, starting with how it works and then why does it work that way, and less about how it looks. And with each process as a different point of view or layer, that map becomes a multidimensional representation of how our technology could work with a new type of methodology. The maps that we made also included a mix of fidelity. We started with Post-its and stickies for discussion and then converted them into diagrams. The drawings really made it feel more final and indicated progress and decisions, while the stickies made it feel like a brainstorm and it was more approachable. Also, the team just was used to working in these rigid spreadsheets, and when it came time to update it, they would create sort of a second spreadsheet, kind of like version final and then version final. With Miro, information is more fluid and we could keep adapting from stickies to boxes to drawings and then back to stickies and then back to boxes and then new drawings over and over again. So we would continue to finesse and add more stakeholder knowledge and more specialized use cases along the way. The next way I used Miro was to help encourage conversations and not just talking. Miro is inherently visual and collaborative, and that was part of the choice. This allowed for multiple ways for us to have a discussion. And since I was working with teams that spoke different languages, literally and figuratively, they had different skill sets, like a statistician versus a designer versus an engineer. The visual mapping really helped cover concepts in a way that didn't require a specific language. And I used it to get everyone to communicate more cohesively because everyone could use these process maps to point and show the exact thing on the map that they're trying to explain. And to be fair, this was a slow process because there were so many moving parts and deep expertise spread across individuals. Asking everyone to internalize the complexity breaks their brains. Not only that, but teams get burnt out just trying to retain all that information. So most of the time in this project was actually spent just listening to experts explain their methodology and their processes while visually taking notes. And the combination of explainer and diagrammer meant we could have instant validation and visualize the transfer of knowledge because the person sharing their expertise could say, hey, this is what I actually meant, not that, or it actually looks like this and not that way. So this took some doing, but we got there. We shipped, delivered, and the customer was happy. We had a lot of bumps along the road, but it would have been bumpier without a tool like Miro that allowed us to contain um, our chaos. And at the end, there are three things to consider that really helped. First one was just finding something that matched the complexity of the problem that we were solving. In this case, it was Miro. It had the space. It allowed us to be able to dive deep as well as go broad. It just was an open canvas for us to pour our knowledge in and allow different stakeholders and different views and perspectives to be in the same space. Second one was that understanding that everyone speaks differently and have different amounts of time. So we had to meet them where they were. And the third one is to work in layers, as I've explained earlier. So I knew that this was a successful approach to use Miro for mapping to sort of bring these two teams together when we saw that these teams, outside of the ones that I was moderating, started to use Miro for their own deep dive discussions, which shows that it wasn't just because they had to, but because they saw the value in this and wanted to. So if I was to do this again and pull diverse teams together in different perspectives in Miro, I would. Thanks for listening.